he had the store, he had the community, he had the customers, he knew how to run the business, but he was left with debt and no cash. And so he needed an infusion of cash to get started again. And I was like, okay, why not? What's 5,000? Let's see. I watched it grow until it got to the point where the physical side was such a nuisance that it just wasn't, he had to shut it down, and it really screwed him up.
Throw a rock and you'll hit dozens of opportunities like that, real scrappy founders. And that's the problem with financing e-commerce. You've got a lot of entrepreneurs that can get into the space, that can show initial signs of traction and sales, put out all the positive signals, but unless you do the due diligence and you see how can this go all the way, then it's a really risky proposition. You pretty much have to go bulk and take, like, I don't know, $10,000 and invest it across 10, and then, hope you find one that doubles your money, and then double down on the rest of that until you make your $10,000 back. The unit economics are really tough in financing e-commerce. And that's the reason these interest rates, like even you look at PayPal, like PayPal's got oodles of money. They're sitting on bags and bags, a war chest of money that they could be empowering all these e-commerce entrepreneurs. They got the deal flow, they got the market, yet look at the interest rates that they charge. Why? They have to, because the failure rates are that high. The risk is astronomical.
I've experienced it. That's why I'm hoping that, the newest e-commerce idea I have and the service that I'm putting forth to e-commerce brands will be good, because I'm learning more. Because I know that there's a problem of starting, but the bigger problem is not starting. The bigger problem is what you do when you see success.
Right.
I think a lot of brands falter at $100,000 per month. And that's what I'm looking at now with the service, is how can I get to 100K a month? And then how can I protect myself from falling apart at that point?
Right, because of the capital intensiveness of it all. And you can make a pretty bad move. You can take on bad debt. There's so many things that can happen. And you can do the wrong deal. You can grow too fast as well. I've been a part of e-commerce brands. I wasn't the founder, but I was a VP, where we had a deal with like Walmart and Costco, and they almost killed us. Like, they just send back the product, type thing. Well, at the same time, if you look at, some of these founders, what I like to do is I like to say, would I use the product? One, and would I keep buying the product? Let's say the company went belly up. Would I buy all their remaining product and use it? And I invested in an e-commerce brand, and it was this kind of like this health drink. And it had this really neat direct-to-consumer model using glass and craft stores and, health food stores all over the place. I said, you know what? I would just convert everything into product, is really what it comes down to. Same thing. I'm looking at the beverage product, and he wants to go direct to consumer and doing pretty well for himself, but we want to add the e-commerce thing to it. And quite frankly, I take all my compensation in product. That's how much I love it, right? So I want to add passion to it, because if I can evangelize it, then I have a better chance. I find it difficult these days just to write a check for, founders or a company I don't know. It might be an attractive opportunity, but there's just so many things that go wrong. So I just have this desire or this obsession that I have to get involved somehow.
As you know, I'm on Reddit, and some guy saw me talking about startups, and he DM'd me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm doing liquidation. Do you want to invest?" And I was like, "No, man, I already lost a bunch of money doing that. I'm good. No, thanks." And he's like, "Oh, I can show you this and that." And I was like, I don't want to be involved with it. I'm sorry, because I know what, like, went through the ringer with this other guy. We got deep into like forecasting, because it would take 14 days for him to get product. Because he was in Vancouver Island, right? Not even Vancouver City. He's on the island next to Vancouver. He would buy from Restock Canada, but it would take 14 days to Port Alberni. He could sell the product so fast that he would run out of product before he would receive the next product. And they had to stop multiple times throughout the country because it's like literally the entire opposite end of the continent by ground. They're putting them in 18-wheel, trucks. And so we were thinking about like buying truckloads of stuff in order to make sure that it arrives in like 10 days instead of 14. He even considered and ended up moving to another town, the next town over, which is 10 times the population, which like you're directly at the ferry to Vancouver City. And even that was still like 10 days instead of 14 days. So he had to go out and make relationships with like trading card companies, and he had a relationship with Walmart that he was able to exploit, and he had to just like figure out a way to get the product the same day or the next day or 3 days. And that was another big problem for us to be able to grow as well, was because we couldn't forecast when we would be able to restock. And so we'd have to shut down the store some days. We couldn't have people that we hired full time, but we still had to pay them. So we looked at like, can we hire First Nation people, right? Which for Americans is the indigenous, how they call it in Canada, the indigenous residents that live in the tribe.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this insight, I've handpicked another video for you right here on the screen. For more actionable strategies that get you real results, hit subscribe.